As if Netflix couldn't control more of the media market if they wanted to. Well, now they're getting even more into podcasting. Now, interesting way I'm getting the story here for when I'm not podcasting. First of all, I want to make sure to make the point of that I got the story originally that I was going to read for this show from the LA Times, but paywall. Of course, there's a paywall when I go ahead and listen or go and want to read a story like this. So I had to go and find it listed. Thank you to the LA Times, you jerks, in the Guam Daily Post. PostGuam.com. Thank you for taking an LA Times article that LA Times wanted me to pay for, you assholes. Scumbag journalism. Anyways, they report that Netflix is diving deeper into the podcast space in a bid to keep audiences invested in its shows and movies. So now they're expanding their podcast, taking pitches from outside producers, looking for an executive to lead their audio push, according to people familiar with the plans who couldn't comment publicly. Jonathan Bing, spokesman for Publix, the supermarket in Florida. Netflix. In a statement, he said, quote, podcasts are an excellent way for fans to connect with our stories and talent, and our marketing team plans to make more of them. Now, there's a lot of competition with podcasting right now, with all these big companies basically running like they just need to create their own production companies for all these major podcast platforms, their own original content. Apple last month now launched a new podcast subscription platform. I've talked about that on a previous episode. Amazon recently snapped up Wondery, the podcast company, maker of the popular Dr. Death series. And in the last couple of years, Sweden's Spotify has rapidly expanded, acquiring podcast networks and producers, including Gimlet, Media, and Parcast. And although Netflix executives have stressed they're not eager to diversify behind their core business of streaming, some podcast producers are hoping the company could still emerge as a bigger financial backer for audio creatives. So, an agent with WME, which is one of the big four talent agencies in the digital department, referring to Netflix, Marissa Hurwitz says that, and by the way, Marissa Hurwitz, she represents many podcast producers. It's exciting, quote, to see more buyers of original content in the audio space. So what Netflix does is they'll take some popular TV shows and movies like The Crown and The Irishman, and they'll have podcasts that are tied to the promotion. So far, spinoffs including You Can't Make This Up, which digs into the real stories behind Netflix's true crime films and series, and Okay Now Listen, a bi-weekly podcast of the company's strong black lead brand, hosted by Scotty Beam and Sylvia Obell, covering a wide range of topics from colorism to body image. And Netflix has used mostly outside producers to make their podcast, taking pitches for new show ideas, and several people familiar with others saying that. So the investment in the audio could pay dividends. Is an effective way for building marketing buzz for shows. And the same idea has been done by other subscription platforms. For instance, Apple TV Plus launched a companion podcast for their series For All Mankind. Last year, TNT and Podcast Studio Cadence 13 launched Root of Evil, the true story of the Hodel family and the Black Dahlia, which was a companion to the TV series I Am the Night. So Hurwitz is saying this is a big priority for many buyers, including Netflix, is incubating intellectual property. And they've been also turning hit shows into video games. Stranger Things is recently made into a video game. Like podcasts, these efforts have largely been a marketing effort to drive attention to shows and films, but they raise potential for further revenue streams. What I'm looking at is that is there going to be an oversaturation of podcasts? And I know some people think that this is going to just take some of the grassroots podcasting out there and put it aside. I just don't know if there's enough people that want to go ahead and listen to all these programs and the kind of money that's being put into it. I think it's just a little bit of overkill, but it's funny how much money is being put into this. That they're able to go ahead and take shows and put money into it. Meanwhile, the podcasters are working to go ahead and work for crumbs, trying to get some ad revenue through other podcast platforms, whoever's hosting their podcasts, things like that. I think it's just a fascinating point. And if Netflix does it, one thing it does do is it keeps a big spotlight on podcasting, that there's a lot of ad revenue to be put into it. So with Netflix, Apple, Spotify, and others coming into the game, then advertisers are going to keep wanting to go ahead and invest in the podcasting. That is the best part. But it's not as if anybody should feel like they're going to have dreams that these podcast networks being created with original programming that Netflix, Apple, or Spotify are able to do are going to go ahead and be something that people are going to get a deal and jump into. It's not like it's going to be another Joe Rogan out there or a Joe Budden that's going to go ahead and get the sign up to do a podcast and they're going to get signed for an exclusive deal. I don't think that's going to happen. What it is, that would be the mistake that radio did. Because radio would have, because I don't think podcasting has done enough to create certain people that are going to be just standout stars. Because the stars that we have in podcasting now have made their names from somewhere else than the celebrity end. With some people that have been able to make themselves noticed because of the platforms they're on, because of who has them. But for the most part, if it's an NPR, then there's a good chance that those shows, their shows are going to get a chance to get better advertising revenue and better noticed and more exposure than somebody from the smaller end. So we just have to keep working on our social media, keep working on our marketing efforts on our own without the big money that Spotify, NPR, or Apple are able to go and give to their outlets. And the premium podcast stuff that's being done by Apple Podcasts is nice. And what Spotify does by offering Anchor to let us go ahead and make some money off of that is nice. But you are having to go and work cost per measurement or cost per click or stream or download, as opposed to these people that just get money just funded at them and just thrown at them to go and support their efforts. But I'll keep an eye on this, see what else comes from it. King of Podcasts. I should be talking about podcasting. That's what I did here, even when I'm not podcasting. I'll leave it there. I'll talk to you next time.